everyone, I'm Will Brown and welcome to the WP Quickies series, bite-sized WordPress tips and tricks in 30 minutes or less. Today, I'm going to be looking at how to properly clear your web browser cache. That's all the assets that are cached by your web browser in some of the popular web browsers for today. So thanks for taking your time to join me on this nice sunny Sydney afternoon, and welcome to those overseas and those watching on catch-up. And a happy April. We're now in April. My goodness, how quickly did that go? Drop us your name, where you're from in the comments. So here's some April facts. I've got this little calendar. It gives you all these interesting facts. And apparently on April Fool's Day in 1976, the BBC, that's the British Broadcasting Corporation, announced that Pluto would soon pass behind Jupiter and reduce Earth's gravity, and that listeners would feel like they were floating if they jumped into the air at exactly 9:47 a.m. It was meant as a joke, but apparently hundreds of people called in claiming they'd felt the Jovian-Plutonian gravitational effect. So that was this day in 1976. Jump in the air and you can fly. Okay, guys, thank you so much for spending your time. Hi, John. Hi to Susan as well, and hi to Alan. Thank you for taking the time to join in with me this afternoon. If you are watching on YouTube, if you want to go and hit the subscribe button and the little bell icon as well, then you'll be notified when I'm next posting my videos. Drop me a question in the comments at any time. You can use the hashtag ask for a question, and I'll spin round to those when I can, or maybe at the end if you've got any questions. But today is a bit of a bit of a beginner's topic, so browser caching. So let's get started. Okay, why would you want to clear a browser cache? So you've probably heard a support person telling you to clear your browser cache at some point in your lifetime. I know I certainly have. Or maybe you've told some of your own clients to clear their browser cache. I know I do that at least once a month, at least with my support ones. So it's the equivalent of the IT department's have you turned it off and on again request. But you know, we've all been there, we've all done that, and we've all had to clear the cache at some point. So all browsers, all of them, they store a local copy, a cache of website asset files. So there could be images, there could be CSS, JavaScript files, anything really that's associated with font files with a web page. And of course, this speeds up the web browsing experience, and everyone is okay and fine with that. However, sometimes when you make an update to a page, or if you have a page that's maybe got dynamic content, and such as maybe a client dashboard, maybe a membership portal, a checkout, or a cart page, the data can get out of sync with the information that they see and what you are expecting them to see. In these cases, you're going to ask them, very beginning thing you're going to ask them to do is clear their browser cache and refresh the page. And after performing that action, theoretically, they should see exactly the same as you are seeing, or you are expecting to see, or they are expecting to see. So here is my guide to clear the browser cache on some of the major web browsers that are out there today. And just a quick few highs to Liz and to Ra in Sydney. Thank you very much. I love the purple here. That's fantastic. I love that. Okay, so before we get into the actual caching, clearing the cache directly, there's a quick method to bypass single page caches using a hotkey combination, and this is supported by most of the major browsers. So in Windows and Linux in general, for all the browsers, you can press Control and F5, which will refresh the page, and it will bypass the local browser cache and download the assets from the web server and show you that page. In Chrome and Firefox, if you're on Apple Mac, you can do the same with the command button, the Shift and R, and that'll reload and bypass the cache. And as well, if you're on Apple Safari, you can do a Shift and the reload button in the toolbar button. Now, this is a temporary fix, so it's not actually clearing the cache. It's just telling the web browser to bypass its cache and direct the assets directly. Download the assets directly from the web server in just that one instance. So if you do that and you see the information, if you press another page refresh, it could draw the old asset files from the cache. again. So it's just a temporary fix and not a permanent cache fix for that one. Okay, let's go through some of the browsers. Microsoft, Chrome. So there's a couple of steps here. Step one, for Chrome, you'll see there's 3 vertical dots, right in the top right-hand corner of the browser. And that gives you access to the Chrome's menu navigation system. So what you do is you want to navigate. I'm going to make this bigger so you can see. You want to navigate down to the More Tools, then a submenu will fly out, and you want to click on Clear Browsing Data for that. Now you can bypass that whole step there, or you can quick step by using the hotkey combination. So when you've got the Microsoft Chrome browser, when it's selected, when it's activated in focus, you can hold the Control Shift and Delete, and it should pop up to this next dialog box, which is this one. So this is your Clear Browsing Data pop-up box for Chrome. It's got a few things in there. Just to note, when you are clearing your data, please note that usually for most of the browsers, all these options are checked on. So browsing history, cookies and other site data, and cached image and files are usually all checked on. But what you want to do in these dialog boxes is you want to just make sure for Chrome, certainly, that the cached image and files, the only one is checked. You don't want to clear your browsing history, and not for this particular instance, and you don't want to clear all your cookies and other site data, because that's going to zap all your logins and all your sessions. Okay, so just that one option checked. And then at the very top, there's a time range. So you can, I think by default, it selects the last hour, but you can do a little bit further than that. So you can clear 24 hours, 7 days, a month, or everything, which is all time. So try an hour, try a day, if that, or if you completely stuck, just zap everything in the cache for that. So choose all those, time range, just that one option, and click on Clear Data, and that's the Google cache assets deleted for good. And then next time you visit a website, it's going to download all those fresh images and JavaScript files and CSS to the Google Chrome cache. So you should see exactly what the web server is meant to be delivering. Microsoft Edge, it's very, very similar to Chrome because it's actually built on the same engine. So it's built on the Chromium engine, the same one that Google's Chrome is built on. So it's very, very similar. But in this instance, rather than 3 vertical dots, you've got 3 horizontal dots. So click on the 3 horizontal dots at the top, and that's going to give you access to the Microsoft Edge navigation system for that. And you want to navigate all the way down to settings this time. So click on the settings. You can see it's highlighted in the navigation option way down at the bottom there, third from the bottom. And that's going to bring up the settings dialog box here. Now, there's quite a few settings to choose from. You want to make sure that you click on the privacy, search, and services, the one that's highlighted with the arrow on the left-hand side. And then you're probably going to have to scroll down a little bit. So the clear browsing data section, it's a little bit down the page, maybe just 1 or 2 page scrolls down. And then click on that choose what to clear option on the right-hand side. And that's going to bring up a third dialog box, which is your clear browsing data. And again, this one is pretty similar to the Google Chrome one. So at the top, you've got your time range. And so you clear from an hour all the way up to everything. And again, make sure that you've only selecting the cached images and files before you click on that Clear Now button. Okay, so Mozilla Firefox. Well, let's have a look at Firefox and how to clear the data on there. Okay, so this web browser, so the Firefox browser, it's not got dots, it's got the regular or the well-known hamburger menu. So those 3 vertical slats up in the top right-hand corner. Click on that and the navigation menu will pop out. And this time you want to click on the options, so the little gear icon with options. And so the arrow is highlighting that on the right-hand side. Second from the bottom, click on that one there. Step number 2. So Firefox is going to bring up this options here. So you want to scroll down to history. And then there's a little button on the right-hand side called Clear History. So you want to click on that to bring up the final dialog box, which is this one here. And yep, you've guessed it. It's pretty similar to the Chrome and the Edge ones. So you want to make sure you get your time range. I always start with the simplest, the easiest one. So for this one is just 1 hour. And then if that doesn't work, then I will backtrack maybe for like a day's worth and then just zap everything if it's still not working. And again, for this, similar to the other dialog boxes, make sure you just have for Firefox just the cache checked. All the options are checked by default when you go in there, so you have to go through and uncheck them. Otherwise, it's going to zap all cache data, and you probably don't want to do that because then you're going to have to relog into all your tabs. So just make sure cache is checked, and then click on the OK, and that's zapped all the Firefox cached data. Hurrah! So let's move on. So this is Apple Safari. So this is Apple Safari on the Mac. What you want to do is there's a couple of methods for zapping stuff, zapping your cache on Safari. There's a kind of zap everything method, which is similar to, so if we go back to the previous dialog box, if you were to check everything in there, so browser history, login, site data, cookies, all that sort of stuff. This is this method for the Apple Safari. So you want to click on the history and then the clear history, and that's going to zap everything. So your cache files, your browsing history, your cookie, your login data as well. So that's a real quick and dirty way of doing that. Otherwise, the proper way to just delete the asset files in Safari is to, I'll make that a little bit bigger, is click on the Safari menu at the top and then go down to your preferences. And that's going to open up this dialog box on the right-hand side. And we want to make sure that we are on the advanced tab. So that's the one with the gear. And then right down the bottom, and this is like a step before we go clearing stuff, you want to check on that show develop menu in menu bar option, because we can't access the area to delete the cache unless we have this develop menu option available to us. So we need to enable that first. It might be already enabled. You might have already done that previously, but this is the steps to do this. So Safari, then preferences, this dialog box comes up, advanced, and then check on that show develop menu in menu bar, and then you'll see a develop menu pop up, and the settings menu comes up, and navigate all the way down to the bottom and click on that empty caches, and that is going to properly delete just your files from the cache in Safari. And so it's not going to zap everything, just the file assets, and that's what we're looking to do today. Okay, next is Opera. Now, Opera it's probably not the most popular web browser, but certainly it's got a significant following. So let's have a look at the Opera one here. Now, Opera, it is Chromium based, so it's very, very similar to Google Chrome and Microsoft Edge. So you're going to see some similarities for this, but they've got their own little icon in the top left-hand corner this time. It's a little O icon for the Opera browser. So you want to click on that, and then the navigation menu will come out, and you want to click on more tools, and then that'll have a flyout menu, a sub-menu, which you can see on the right-hand side, and then there's a clear browsing data. And as with all the Chromium browsers, you can, when you've got the browser in focus, if you press Control, Shift, and Delete, then that's going to bring up this next option here, which is the clear browsing tab. Again, similar in look and operation to Google Chrome and Microsoft Edge. So it said instead, this time, rather than use delete or remove, they use the word obliterate, which I think is fantastic. So you want to obliterate the following items, and they've got a timeline. So again, 4 weeks, 1 day, a week, 4 weeks, and everything. And again, just make sure you got the cached images and files, and that's the only option that's selected because you don't want to delete anything else in this particular case. And then click on the clear browsing data, and that's going to obliterate all your browser asset cached files. I love that word, obliterate. I'm going to use that more in my daily chats. Okay, now this isn't a popular browser, but it's certainly still, unfortunately, a major browser. Internet Explorer 11, it's still used in a lot of corporate settings. So, you know, if you do have a client who is using Internet Explorer 11, unfortunate for you, but, you know, you've got to deal with it. And you need to get them to clear the cache. These are the steps for the Internet Explorer 11. So for this one, you want to go to top right, click on the gear icon, and then click on the safety option in the navigation option. And that's going to spin out through a submenu. And you want to click on the delete browsing history. Now, fortunately, they've actually, maybe this is historical, but they've the old Internet Explorer 11 is the same hotkeys, so Control Shift and Delete, which will then bring up the delete browser cache box. So you can do that as a hotkey quick step as well, rather than going through the menus. And here's the Internet Explorer version of the delete history cache information. And again, as with all of the browsers, all these options are checked when you go in there. So you'll need to go in and make sure you uncheck the ones you don't want and just leave. And the option for this one is temporary internet files and website files. So make sure that's the only one selected, or get your client to make sure that's the only one that's selected there. Maybe do a screen share with them to make sure they're doing all those right steps. And then click on the delete button. And that is all your images and asset files and JavaScript files deleted for Internet Explorer 11. So those are the top browsers that carry 98% of all the web traffic, and that's how to properly delete just the cached files. So again, if you're looking to solve some of your own problems, those are the steps to do it. But more specifically, 9 out of 10 times you're probably going to be dealing with a client. And you want to make sure, if you just tell them to clear their browser, they're probably going to be scratching their head and not really know what they're doing, or they're holding down Shift and Control and whatever, all these buttons. So you can take them through these steps and maybe screen share with them on Zoom or something else, and make sure that they're going through these steps and they're clicking on the right thing as well. And it's also great just to make sure that they're just deleting those files and not their browser history and their cookies, because they're not gonna love you so much if you're deleting all their history and their logins. So they have to re-log into their Facebook and Instagram and whatever accounts that they have all again. So that's it. It was a real quick quickie today. So that's how to properly clear cache from Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, Mozilla Firefox, Opera, and Internet Explorer 11 as well. So again, you can use this as a little guide for your clients or for yourself on deleting stuff. I'll answer some questions. If you've got any questions, post them in the comments below, but it's probably a quite simple topic today, and probably not going to get very many questions, but that's okay. That's all right. Nobody at all? No takers today. That's good. We can finish early and we can have some lunch, which is great. Oh, we have one question. Thanks, Nick. Is it possible to have a web page command to clear the cache automatically, either when it's accessed or perhaps every month, just in case I change images or CSS? There probably is. There's probably a plugin that you can get for the browsers. It's not something I've looked at. It's a great question, Nick. Maybe I can do a little bit of research on that and post some findings in the comments of the video below. But I'm pretty sure there'll probably be a time-based browser or extension or add-on that allows you to have a big button or a timer. But yeah, that's a great question. I shall have a look. I'll find out for you, Nick. What about mobile devices, Ra? Yeah, mobile devices, they'll be 99% exactly the same. So it'll be the same commands that you go through, the same places that you click on from whatever option that your mobile device has to get to the navigation menu. Sometimes it's different in iPad, might be different from Android, but you get into the settings and then the navigation route will be exactly the same, Ras. So you'll be clicking on the same menu items and the same sub-menu items and the same dialog box that pops up. It's going to look a little bit different because it might be like probably horizontal navigation elements all stacked in each other, but those are the elements that you want to do. And again, make sure you're just checking on that files option and not everything that's probably going to be all selected. So exactly the same navigation route, but just maybe different buttons to get to the navigation system. But thank you for that. Great question. Alan asks, can you confirm Control and refresh button works the same as Control and F5 on most browsers? Yes. Yeah, so that's exactly the same. So the F5 key on most browsers is going to initiate a page refresh, so that you can do a Control and F5 or hold a Control button and click on the refresh button, and that'll do exactly the same. It'll bypass local cache just for that one page and just for that one time. It's not going to download any new assets to the cache, just going to bypass it. So next time you do a proper refresh, just F5 or click on the refresh, it's probably going to look in the browser cache again and deliver any old items. So you'll need to go through the settings menu to delete the cache to get those proper assets downloaded again properly. John asks a more techie question. Okay, I'm up for that. How do you clear the cache back to a CDN or cloud cache? Example, Cloudflare. Yes, right. So if you are running your website through a CDN, a content delivery network, what that is basically a company will have lots of servers pointed all the way in different countries throughout the planet. And when a visitor looks at your website, if it's in a CDN, then it will look to the local server in the CDN network, and it'll download from there. So theoretically, it's not having to go. So someone in London was looking at a web server that's hosted in Australia. Theoretically, it doesn't have to go all the way to Australia and then all the way back to London. If they've got a CDN server sitting in London, you just grab a local cache there and download it. So it's a lot quicker, basically. So Cloudflare is probably the biggest one. So for Cloudflare, because it's like a level above, if you imagine a stack, you've got the web server down here, you've got your browser, and then you've got Cloudflare and the CDN up here. So you're going to need to go into your service provider. So for example, Cloudflare, you need to go into Cloudflare for there, and then go into your control panel for your website. And within there's a clear cache button in there. So you can clear all the cache, or you can clear different types of cache files. You can clear just JavaScript, just images, just CSS. And again, it's got a time frame as well. So you can usually clear relative assets within the hour, or just zap everything. But certainly if you're using a service like a CDN, you need to log into their control panel and zap it from that level. And then that'll clear it at the top level. And then, you go back down to the browser. And again, if you're getting problems, you have to zap the browser cache, and then that will reset everything. So the Cloudflare will get data from the server, and the Cloudflare will pass it to your browser, and then your browser will store it in the local cache. So maybe 2 steps if you're using a service like Cloudflare. But that is, that's a great question. Thank you for that. Okay, thanks, guys. I am going to wrap up. It was a quickie today. Thank you for your questions. I wasn't expecting any, so that's fantastic. Let's move on. Next week, and again, I'm going back to some of the WordPress basics, the WordPress fundamentals, and looking at how you can find your WordPress login URL. Now, it sounds really simplistic, but I've had people who in the meetups, the WordPress meetups, they've just installed WordPress, which is great, and then they've went to have a look at the homepage, and then they have no idea how to get back and log into the system. So we're going to look at how to do that, how to find your login URL, and a few tips and tricks around that type of subject. Again, I'm always looking for topics. I've got a link down below in the video description for a Google form. Please send me some topics that I can chat about. WP Quickies, I like to kind of stack them up maybe a month's worth at a time, and they can do a little bit of research for these chats. So give me some more topics. Give me some topics to look at in 30 minutes. Just a shout out as well for WPAustralia.org. A lot of the meetups are starting up again in person as well as online. So if you're looking to find out which meetups are in Australia, go to WPAustralia.org and click on the Find a Meetup button, and it'll list all the ones that we are currently active in Australia. And there's also a button on there to join us on Slack. So you can log in to Slack and chat with us. It's like a little online community with lots of little channels, specific channels for plugins, for WP Sydney, for help, business tips, all that sort of stuff, all those different types of channels there. Get a login, have a chat with some people, get to know some of the people in the WordPress community, and ask some questions. We're all kind of here willing to help because we don't really do any work during the day. We just do these things and answer questions. Okay, please connect with me. I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, and sometimes on Twitter. If you are linking with me on LinkedIn, just leave a little note as well, just to say you watched one of the WP Quickies, because I get quite a lot of contacts, and many of them I don't really know where they're coming from. So it'd be nice to know where they're coming from that, but certainly hit me up on some of these links, and that'd be fantastic. So thank you so much for joining me today. Look forward to chatting with you next week on, what is that doing? Login URLs, fantastic. And I am going to queue up a Q&A session as well, probably in May, probably beginning of May, just like do a general Zoom Q&A so you can ask me WordPress type stuff if you guys are up for that. That would be fantastic. But anyway, thank you so much for joining me. I'll let you get back to whatever it was you were doing, and I'll talk to you next week. Ciao.